we do have a special guest today, and he's going to be on right around 1:30-ish. Hopefully he'll get on a little bit sooner than that. But he is actually, his name is Brandon Green, and he is actually going to share what he talked about on stage with Gary Keller. He's a good friend of mine. I actually did have him come to the Fort Mill office when he first launched Alchemy of Money, which is his company. He has a big history of running brokerages. He's been really wise in different businesses. He just launched an event venue in the area that he's in that's really stunning. So maybe eventually we could have some events up there. But he's really intelligent about business and money, and we speak the same language around that. And I just have found that in many conversations, especially this year and over the past couple of years, as the real estate industry has looked slightly different, that when everyone's wise in their business about their money, even though they don't think they need it, it starts to show up, and it's what causes the fear and the doubt. And the fact that he even was willing to have time just to talk to us for everyone to get to learn about that is amazing, just because of the quality of presenter and speaker and business guy that he is. He's a big gift. So what we're going to do until then is we're going to jump into some of the mindsets and some of the things that you think about money in personal life and business. And this is going to be an all-in conversation. And when he gets on, for everyone who can, as long as you're not driving and unsafe, if you can turn your cameras on. I had planned to be able to market this a little bit more. And with me focusing on the event, I just didn't want to confuse people about what to do. So I want us to be all in when he gets on in a little bit so that he can feel the energy from people and that he invested his time well today. And I'll use this video for people to go back to for the recordings as well. But the all-in conversation will build a relationship with a guy who's awesome that I think all of you will value knowing. So let's start off by going around and just sharing, like, what are some of the things that you have thought about money in your life that have gotten in your way of making as much money as you can? For those of you who have had negative mindsets or experiences in life that have caused you to think about money differently, I would just like for you to talk about what's your relationship been like with money so far in your life.
So you want me to go?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you
I
for
mean,
always being consistent.
I never had money up until, several years ago.
Okay.
None of my jobs made any money. So, but when I started working in Pineville around people that did make money, I started to learn more about money because I didn't grow up, we didn't have any money. So there was, go in debt and pay it off for the rest of your life. That was our financial advice. So,
Okay.
finally started learning a little bit about money. So know that, you know, putting it some places that it will work. That's why it's called currency now. It's not worth anything anymore. So if you don't keep it moving, it's not worth anything. If you put it in your pillowcase, it loses value every day.
Yes.
Where it used to not, but now it does since we're off the gold standard. Uh, you know, you need to learn that stuff. I know a lot of it's not conspiracy. It is, reasons things are doing what they're doing nowadays that what they didn't used to do. And and that's why I say making money work more besides just putting it in a mason jar. Like I said, and really,
Yeah.
reality,
Under
back in,
under the mattress. Yeah.
well, back in the day, that was a thing. You could save money, and money was worth something still. But now it's not. Your dollar's worth what, 75 cents, 50 cents, depending on what day it is. So if you just stick it in a jar, it doesn't. It's not making anything. It's
Not gonna
actually
grow.
losing money.
Mhm.
And then and like I said, just being smart about spending money. I don't want to piss anybody off on here, but when you spend $3,000 on a sleeve of tattoos, what can you do with that when you get hungry?
I don't know
Honestly.
if you made anybody mad on here.
But it is what it is. I really don't care. But you got to think about what you're spending money. Now, granted, I spend money on a lot of stuff. I blow money too. That's why
Yeah.
I'm out here working, so I can enjoy some things. But you know, to me, there's like you got to be smart. You ask people to join you in certain businesses and stuff, and it's always an excuse. I don't have any money. I don't have any money. And then the next day they're on Facebook showing off that you know $700 tattoo they just got.
Yeah.
We didn't have any money yesterday, so what's going on? And
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people, what is it? If you give 10 people $1 million in 10 years, most of them will be broke again.
Yeah. Okay, so that is super helpful. Thank you, Jeff, because a lot of people have had different relationships with money in life. So thank you for sharing your specific experiences. I would love to, who all is at a place where you can actually write right now, like on a piece of paper? Because I want to give you guys something to think about, whether you're familiar with this or not familiar with it. And it's really important that you're able to completely like focus and understand it. So, okay. So literally, if you take out a piece of paper, you're good, Ashley. I don't want anyone to be unsafe here. I'm super grateful for everyone that's here. So take out a piece of paper and I want you to draw 4 quadrants. So you're going to draw a box, and some of you have seen me do this before, and it is a book. So as we're talking, you're going to
I've
understand.
got it.
There's no such thing as talking about this too often. So Jeff, what am I having everyone draw?
You're doing the quadrants for a
I am.
business owner, employee.
I am. Yes.
Robert Kiyosaki.
I am doing the cash flow quadrants, and we're going to talk
Excellent.
about
Yep.
it today more in depth than maybe you've thought about it before, and maybe you already have. But I think this is going to be a really quality conversation to set up the way that Brandon comes in and talks about the different ways to remargin a business. And what I would encourage you to do is use the conversation when he comes on today for yourself, for a model for the direction you're going in, and to always come back to every single year. And also take notes such that you can actually share it with your clients, because you are going to be able to share these with clients who have businesses or who may invest in businesses in the future, so that they can be wise about how they remargin their business, especially if a market changes or shifts. So let's go ahead and talk about it. On the left side of cash flow quadrants, there are 2 things that you can be. You can be employed, which is the top left side, and that's an E. You can be self-employed, which is the bottom left side, which is an S. And on the top right, you can be a business owner. And on the bottom right, you can be an investor. So let's talk about that real quick. Who all on here is now or has ever been an employee? Okay. You can raise digital hands. Okay. I think almost everyone, yes? Okay, awesome. Kimberly said yes. Okay, great. So the majority of us have been an employee at some time in our life. Who on here is or has been self-employed? Just about everyone on here right now, right? So self-employed is on the left side of the 4 quadrants. Now, the interesting thing is, and I can go ahead and mention this because everyone on here is in the Keller Williams world, although, please invite any of your friends that are anywhere, because anyone in this industry and any business in the industry that's in values alignment, got it, Pamela, thank you, is absolutely invited to this. So make sure that you always share it with people, and they can also come back to the recording later. So when Gary Keller created Keller Williams, his goal was actually to move as many people as possible from the left side to the right side of the 4 quadrants. And so for you to do that, you have to consistently be able to think about where you fall on the 4 quadrants and how do you be intentional about moving to the right side. And every time you make a decision to be in a business building conversation, either to attract business, attract talent, or have profit in your business, you are being intentional about being a true CEO and a business owner. So on the right side of the 4 quadrants is a business owner. And on the bottom right side is investor. Let's talk about it. So how do you know in your real estate businesses, how do you know if you are self-employed or if you own a business?
You want me to answer that one?
I would love anybody to participate in this conversation.
I don't know who can answer yet or not. I mean, everybody's
What are your thoughts around the difference between being self-employed and a business owner?
Well, right now, I would say probably most of us are self-employed.
Okay, and why would you say that?
Because you can't walk away from it and still make a living. If you
Yeah.
fell and broke your leg and had to be in the hospital for a month, your business would die.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
What about generating income for another person that help you transfer into the business owner and not just the self-employed?
Thank you, Pamela. That actually is one way. So, and I love what Jeff said as well. One of the things that I always tell people, because many times people who get into the real estate business, when they're in conversations with people, they say, oh, I own a business. And so I always say to them, if you went away on vacation, Pamela, you're going to love this example. If you went away on vacation for a month, all the way up to 6 months, with no access to internet or phone, would your business go backwards? Would your business stay the same, or would your business grow?
It would go backward.
And so if your answer is, if I was gone away for 6 months, my business would either go backwards or stay the same. You do not have a business, right? Now, that doesn't mean you're not intentionally taking the steps to grow your business. It just means by definition, you don't have a running business to where you're going to profit as the business owner without you being heavily involved in the doing of whatever the business is every day. So that'll just have you continue to think about every day, are the decisions I'm making, the systems I'm creating, the people I'm putting in place, are we doing this such that as we scale, I'm working more towards being a business owner, and the experience that the people that I serve is going to be the same or better without me? Or am I just being an employee for myself? And I don't think anybody got into this business for them just to be self-employed forever. Did anybody? Even if you only want to have an individual agent business, tell me if you want to be the only one helping your clients for the rest of your life, every day.
No.
Okay. So the goal of every conversation we have, every decision we make, when we plan our 411, when we look at our calendar, the goal is, how do I take this amazing thing that I get to do to help people grow their wealth and turn it into a profitable business such that the experience I'm giving to people is so great they continue to do business with the standard that I designed without being able to talk to me every day. And that doesn't mean it has to be designed a specific way. I have a really amazing friend. Her name is Sahar. She's also Lebanese, and she's in Texas. And she has a model where she's an individual agent with, some of you have heard me talk about her before. She's an individual agent, and she has several people that work with her that are in the same company as her, but they are not on her team. And she literally mentors them in exchange for them to serve in a specific role inside her business. So she has showing agents, she has people that go to closings for her, she has people that go to inspections for her. She does the majority of her appointments from her home so that she can be a present mom. So there are multiple different ways to design this such that you actually can own a business and it runs smoothly with systems. And then let's talk about investor real quick. So in the real estate business, let's list out the number of ways that you could be an investor related to the real estate business. And this means that your money's making money for you without any of your time needed. What are the different streams that you can be an investor in real estate?
I would think that sorry.
Just for Keller Williams, the profit share model, right?
Yes, profit share. That is where money's just making money for you. Actually, you don't really have to invest anything except a conversation, right? So there's actually not really anything you have to put down there, and it's going to make money for you as you make an impact on people's lives. That's a really good one, Tiffany. Okay, what else? How can you be an investor in this company?
I was going to say too, just that we could easily do is, if we can't work in the business, we could also refer business. And also personally, I hope that all of us on this call are investing in our future, whether that's a self IRA or self or money markets or stocks or something. I hope we're doing something with our income.
Yeah, so investing in your retirement. So whatever the different format is for that. I love that, Pamela. And I love what Tiffany said earlier. So one way for you to do that is you can actually invest, and then you can get profit share, and then you can put that into your investment account so that it grows. And then another way, remember, is to invest in real estate, right? You own your home, you purchase real estate properties. It's what you encourage other people to do all the time, is to grow passive income, whether it is holding properties, whether it's flipping properties, whether it's going in with other people on it. It's what you know the best, and the safest investment to make is the thing that you're knowledgeable in. Yes?
Yes.
And here's what's cool and how this all turns into a circle as you build your business. All those referral partners, all the people that you hire inside of your business all of those people are people that you get to help do this. And who knows if they already thought this way or not. You literally get to transform not only the lives of the clients that you serve in this way, but you also get to transform the lives of the people that are going to be in your business, whether it's one admin, whether it's a virtual assistant. Each of those are opportunities for you to completely transform those people's lives around their wealth for their family. So I am super grateful that I see Brandon is in the waiting room, so you guys don't have to hear me talk about cash flow quadrants anymore. And I would challenge you, if you haven't already put out some form of content on social media around the cash flow quadrants, that you have, whether it's a blog post, a social media post, something, that you have something that you are consistently sharing with people, because when they think about wealth building, real estate always comes up, and you can make an impact for them and help explain it in a way that maybe they haven't understood it before, because this is not everyone's conversation every day, and you can be the person that they know of for wealth building. All right, well, I'm going to let Brandon in and see if he wants to start early or not. All right, well, a couple people share with me your top takeaway for yourself from that conversation. What did you get from the conversation around the cash flow quadrants?
I don't have a business yet.
Okay, you don't have a business yet. You're still self-employed, okay?
Well, same, but the mindset is everything. If we understand what steps are needed to take us into that next quadrant, then we're going to think different, and then our actions are going to align. So we should be thinking as business people.
I love that. So it starts with thinking as a business person every day to move you over to a business owner, where you can go on vacation for 6 months and not have to think about it, right? Love that. One more person.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted.
Okay.
So for me, I think going from being self-employed to a business owner is also an opportunity for time freedom as well, as long as you put those systems in place you were talking about. And so being able to lean into, like you said, being a mom to my kids and all the things, and still allowing my business to run while I'm doing those things that are important to me.
Okay, so you're really building your legacy every day and being intentional about being a present mom and also scaling a business. You don't have to choose between the two. Okay, awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you for getting on early for us. I was so excited to see you pop on. Was sharing with them earlier a few things about you, and yet you're one of my favorite speakers in the world. You know that. That's why I asked you for advice a couple years ago on how you developed as a speaker, and you made such a powerful introduction for me, and I'm forever grateful for that. And this is just a small group of our Legacy Collaborative. We have a Facebook community of about 430 people, and our goal is to grow it to 20,000 by 2028.
Nice.
It's always going to be a free community where people can grow wherever they are in their business. And this is a call that happens every Monday, and we're super grateful to have you here. And I would love to have you just share a little bit about your path so they can hear it from you. And then everyone is just ready to take notes, and everyone is so excited for you to be here. So thank you for being here today.
You bet. My pleasure. Well, hello, everybody. Good way to start a Monday.
Yeah.
Hopefully you had a really good weekend. Productive. Sell some houses, maybe a little bit. Okay. Good. Well, hey, so my name is Brandon Green. I'm with a company called Alchemy of Money. And it's a company I started a couple years ago to help real estate agents with their finances. So we work exclusively with agents all over the country in the areas of taxes and bookkeeping, which is really interesting because it didn't start that way. So I started as a real estate agent in 2001 and grew a solo practice, then grew a real estate team, and then eventually launched 7 Keller Williams offices in the Washington, D.C. area. And in that process, I grew a lot myself financially, and I made, I don't know, all the mistakes that are possible. At least that's what I think. And then I make another one. I'm like, oh no, there's still some more in there. But that really did help inform my perspective about finances. 4, 5, 6 years into my career, I realized selling houses wasn't enough, actually. That for me to reach my financial goals, I had to do something else. There was another skill, another perspective that had to come online. It sounds like, Saundra, some of that's what you were talking about right before I came on.
We started off with the 4 quadrants because we were just having a conversation to remind us to think like a business owner every day, and the components of that and how that's defined.
Yeah. Yeah. So I remember distinctly one year when I was the top of the leaderboard in GCI, and I had my gold, platinum medallions wandering across the stage. I was very proud about that, but the secret was I was also behind on my taxes. So I was like, wait a minute. How can I be doing everything right around lead generation and conversion and listing appointments and buyer appointments, but be behind on my taxes? I'm making like $500,000 a year. How's that even possible, right? And then, good old look-see in the mirror. It's like, all right, well, maybe there's something else I need to take on. So that began a long journey that I believe is a lifelong commitment around your finances and getting a little bit better every year. And so today, what I want to do is spend a little bit of time going through a presentation with you on the 5 best practices to kind of remargin, maybe even reset your business. And we'll talk a little bit about taxes too, because it is sort of that time. Ideally, you would have done your taxes a little earlier this year, but for those of you who are coming in hot, filing here upon the extension, this content's for you. So that should be some pretty good stuff here for us as well. All right, Saundra, I'm just going to dive on in, yeah?
Yes, sir. We're so excited.
All right, so I already talked a little bit about me, KW Master Faculty, co-founded Alchemy, and we help real estate agents with their books and taxes. So the title of this presentation is Your Business Called and It Wants Its Margins Back. I thought that was clever. So let's go through the first set here, which is, interestingly, is being part of Alchemy and doing books and taxes for agents around the country. We actually have compiled really interesting data. And so when I was growing my business, I always wanted to know what the MREA was, Millionaire Real Estate Agent Model. I wanted to know what I was doing, but I was really curious what my colleagues were doing. So now at Alchemy, we have this data. So I want to show this to you and have you just do a little reflection on your own data. So this data shows first half 2024 compared to first half of 2025, average GC. And as you can see, it's up. Net profit, too, for the agents that we're managing, this is hundreds of real estate agents around the country, is up. The percentage of profitable entities is about the same. So, 71% of agents are profitable, but that also means, quick math, a lot of agents are not, right? It is a little bit of the tale of two worlds out there, that agents are either succeeding and have figured out how to do this, and if they are, they're profitable by and large, and that's getting better. Or they're still stuck in a spin of some sort and are not able to execute a profitable business. So just a little gut check for you to see where you are. Now, let's look a little bit further into the data and look at things like cost of sale, compensation, lead generation. So you may or may not know cost of sale includes, excuse me, got a little cough today, buyer agent, listing agent, referral agent, brokerage fees, royalties, that's all cost of sale. And we can see that in the first half of 24, it was 26%. First half of 25 was up a little bit to 29%. But the good news is the net profit did go up from 20% to 25%. So my question to you, Ashley, to Pamela, Tiffany, Jeff, what's your profit as a percentage? What's your net profit margin? If you don't know offhand, that might be a good opportunity for you to do some calculation. So that profit margin going up is a good sign. I will say, however, 25% profit margin is it kind of sucks, honestly. This is, by the way, these are folks that are pretty, that have some leverage. If you're a solo agent or a solo agent with an assistant, it should be at least double this. So, the question just for yourself is, well, how much is your profit margin, and what are you doing specifically in the next 90 to 180 days to improve it, if it needs improving? And if is a quantifier based on your own desire, but this data gives you a little bit of a sense. Like if your profit margin is below what we're seeing in the business, that's one thing. If it's below your expectation, that's a different thing. So, and maybe it's both, I don't know, but that's something to look at here in this data. All right, so for fun, we also are tracking members that are, bigger teams and organizations, right? So if you're curious, but these are folks who will probably end the year somewhere around 3 million in GCI. Their profit is up too, but what's fascinating is 80% are profitable, which means about 20 are not. So there we have people in the industry, and maybe you know of them, or maybe you are one of them, making $2, $3, $4 million in GCI and losing it all. So that just gives you a sense of the scope of the challenge/opportunity we have in our industry to get better with this stuff. If we've got plenty of entrepreneurs, 20% of which are making $3 million a year and spending it all, and, hey, we got a problem. Right? So it really is tracking out in the data. And then this group has a nice improvement in the profit margin, 24% compared to 16% last year. So I do think that, and you may have come to this conclusion in other ways, from a broad perspective, despite the challenging market, our data shows that agents' businesses are actually up. It does appear that, and I'm not talking about the market, I'm talking about the impact on agent businesses, that the low point was likely last year, and that things are really now slowly beginning to go up as agents are beginning to right-size compensation and make really sometimes difficult but important decisions in their business that has changed things over the last 12 months. I'm going to pause there for a minute. Saundra, have you seen that as well? Is that sort of playing out in your observation?
It's interesting. I have seen that people are finding that they're getting more business. And it's interesting to think about, even at the highest level, the 20% that are not profitable at all, because I find that wherever on the journey people are focusing on how to be intelligent in their margins and what they're investing money in, and studying if they're getting a return, and being wise with their taxes, and even mindful of what they're doing with the cash flow when they have the profit. That's a whole other conversation. It's just really, I mean, I've seen it all over the map. Thankfully, I have seen that the people that are consistently involved in the Legacy Collaborative in any way have more business than last year. It's a variety of what more is, but yes. And it's interesting to think about, because even when people are making decisions on, how to do more with less, specifically when it comes to people in the larger businesses, it's almost like they don't necessarily have a roadmap of what does that look like to do it well. And sometimes they cost themselves business because they don't get rid of the right people, or they don't hold the people they keep accountable to a clear return on investment in their activities. So I mean, it makes sense that I don't have the data exactly that way because of the volume of data that you have, but it does make sense that it's that way. And I'm starting to feel like things are picking up right now in the Charlotte metro market. The majority, all the people that are on right now do happen to be in this market. I'd be curious what you feel is happening in other parts of the country.
Yeah. Well, I think people sort of got used to how to operate this market, which is good. What I would add is, it starts with great data. I mean, you can anecdotally know or feel like you want to do something, this or that with your business. But my question for all of you on this call is, do you know what your net profit margin is? And have you targeted something other than what it is, right? Maybe you're happy with it, which is, if that's the case, then just keep doing, don't mess it up, right? And that's a target in and of itself. But do you know what it is? And then if you do, what do you want to do with it? And if you do want to make any changes, what exactly are the changes, and what's the flow through to the margin? So these are actually fairly complicated questions to source out, but really worth it, especially this time of year, is business planning for 2026 is about to kick in. So taking a really good look at that. All right, let's dive into a couple of things you may consider in that process. Some expense best practices. And I just started hitting on this, which number one is know your numbers. Or you can keep guessing and stressing, right? I mean, it's up to you, your choice. But the truth is mastering the P&L isn't optional. Well, you know what? Let me say that. Sure it is. It is. If you want to, if you've got like a trust fund laid back on, and this is just totally, cake, and you have fun and you don't really care whether you do that, or you don't even, it makes no difference to your life whatsoever, and you just want to go out and have a good time at an open house, go for it. And there are plenty of people in our industry who are in that position, right? That this is really about fun. But if this is a business for you, and this your livelihood, your family, your future depends on your effectiveness in it, then you have to master the profit and loss statement. Like, I'm sorry. Don't underestimate the time it takes to get this right. Seriously, it's hard. It's a multi-year commitment. You cannot set it and forget it with your P&L. And outsourcing the understanding of your numbers is just outsourcing your own future. So I do remember when I was really starting to get into the know your numbers, and I had a good coach who was like, "Got to know your numbers, Brandon." I was like, "Okay, I know my numbers." He's like, I was like, "Well, I got GCI, units, volume, appointments, conversion metrics. Like I had all that." He's like, "No, you got to have the back numbers, right? Which is your revenue, your expenses, your net profit, the margins in each of these expense categories on your budget." I was like, "Oof, all right." She's like, "I want you to start reviewing your P&L once a week." I was like, I think that's a good idea. Let's do that. So noon on Friday, I put that time on my calendar, and I was all proud of myself. I sat down on my computer to review my P&L, and then I was like, "Where's the P&L?" So I like dug it out of my deleted folder in my right. I was like, "Oh, here it is." It was like from 4 or 5 months ago, and I'm looking through it. I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking at, to be honest. It was just a bunch of gobbledygook. So that's where I started. And I think that for all of us, this know your numbers is easy to say, but identifying specifically where you are within that and what your specific next step is actually does require quite a bit of intellectual power and probably some additional dialogue with a coach or mentor or somebody who you care about. But there's no way around it. So maybe point number one takeaway is, where are you in that journey? And what exactly would be the next step in this ever going for always pursuit of quote unquote knowing your numbers? So that's numero uno. The Spanish is bonus. All right, expense practice number 2, business. It's not your personal slush fund. Ashley, I don't know if that resonates with you or not. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know you, but maybe you're like, no, I'm very disciplined. You're very disciplined. I can't tell. But hey, we got to take our personal expenses out of the business. Sorry, not sorry, like that. And I know that sometimes we're doing it to bolster our tax deductions. I get that, but honestly, if you go a little too far on that, it can distort the view of your business. You don't even know what you're doing, other than making it a personal slush fund tax deduction vehicle kind of thing, right? And so, but maybe your business is in good shape, but your personal finances need attention. And that's what's distorting the picture. I'm not sure, but this relationship between a business and your personal fund is a big deal. And where I see most people struggle is they sort of use the business as a personal lifestyle fund, and tons of commingling going on, or just lots of expenses that are really personal in there under the auspices of tax deductions or whatever, right? So if you really want a base case for what your business is truly doing, you may be surprised, it may be better than you think, then you would make sure that you only have business expenses in the business and not a bunch of personal expenses. I don't know, Saundra, have you run into any agents that
Never. I'm just kidding. So, yes, I see this happen all the time where people overuse, especially in well-established high GCI businesses, where people overuse personal events. And there are ways to do things that make sense and genuinely contribute to the GCI of your business, like traveling to train, or
Sure.
going to teach and making that a part of your vacation week and only writing off the portion that you're actually training. There are things that you can do. And yet running all of your new outfits and everything that you like to do for fun with your friends through your business is not necessarily always appropriate. And I've seen that happen plenty of times.
Yeah. There are some expenses that I would consider owner discretionary that may or may not be core to the business, but are business adjacent and are tax deductible. If you're going to play that game, then you just need to delineate that out clearly in your profit and loss statement, so you're being honest with yourself about what that is. We have a member with Alchemy, and she has what she calls her bullshit account. She's like, well, and look, she has to make that judgment call ultimately as the taxpayer, who is the one that would have to face an audit, right? If she wants to call that a business. But what I think is good that she does do is she makes it she knows it's in the math. So when we're having a conversation about her business, we're having a conversation about our business, and we don't have to guess how much we need to parse out of that. So I think that's a discipline that is worth having, particularly if you really count on your business to do well.
What I love about your story too, Brandon, is You were great at selling real estate. You have lots of knowledge of how to run brokerages. Like your journey is amazing. And you didn't start off being great with people and just naturally knowing numbers. I think a lot of people judge themselves with where they are in their journey when they start diving into being a true business owner when it comes to the numbers part of it. And your story around that piece is inspiring. And they don't have to wait as long as you do, as long as you did. Like
Yeah.
this is the opportunity, right? Is to start now and to
Yes.
learn it.
Yeah, hopefully we learn from each other and shorten our own learning curves as a result of other people's expense or opportunities, shall we say. All right, number 3. Like you, your business, or excuse me, your budget needs boundaries. Let's start with 40% profit. I mean, it is kind of the MREA baseline model, 30, 30, 40. So if you don't have any other target, start with that target. And the key is to build out a whole budget with the idea that you're going to make a 40% profit. Now, if you have never done that, you're going to need some help. Like, I don't think anybody can go from cold to building out a budget, let alone a budget with a particular profit margin in place. That takes some expertise and some work. And actually, some of the modules in Business Planning Clinic and other places help you do that. But gosh, what an interesting aim to look at 2026 and say, well, how much do I really want to make? And if so, how much do I need to sell? But that is assuming that you're spending a certain amount of percentage. And what does that math out to be? It can be really quite clarifying. If you don't have the P&L data, then it's really hard to do. It's kind of guessing. But if you've got at least a year of a profit and loss with clear categories and a history of what you spent your money on over the last 12 months, much, much better because you're starting with a baseline. You're starting with a percentage now. And then you can map out the delta between where you are now and where you want to be a lot better than just doing nothing, right? And then trying to start from zero. So something to consider here is this whole idea of a budget and what you may want to do to implement that. And for some of you, it may be you got to implement the P&L first. I'm okay with that. Actually, I'm trying to think, Saundra, maybe I'm trying to think of anybody who went from zero to budget and skipped P&L.
No, and what I found, and you mentioned this earlier, I found that many times if someone just hasn't been a numbers person at all, them having a personal budget is so important to go along with their business budget, because many times when we get into business conversations, people don't ask all the right questions for us to identify, oh, I'm not being consistent with my personal reality of what it costs just to live monthly for us to understand what that truly is. And they don't get a real profit amount to start with. And then they don't understand the relationship between income versus profit in the business. And that's why they don't end up focusing on earning enough money for them to fund their life, because they don't even know how much it costs to.
So, what's the takeaway on that? Ask yourself, what's your next step you may look at? Okay, number 4 is operate like a pro, not a personality. And what I mean by this is almost every P&L we look at, meals and travel expenses are out of control. So yes, it's fun to go visit your friends, but a lot of trips really add up. And if you're spending more than 2% of your GCI on travel and stuff, like probably. So I distinctly remember this. So about 5 years in or so of my business, I got a little package from the IRS. And spoiler alert, they don't really send gifts. So it was right around my birthday too. So I was, anyway, I was selected for a multi-year, multi-entity audit. And I was like, that's not great. And at that point in my career, I had been traveling a lot. I love to travel. If you know me, follow me on social, I love to travel. I always have. And so when I got into the real estate business, I made no exception and continued to travel. And I may have put some of the travel expenses liberally in my P&L. So I get to the audit. The audit is in my basement at my desk. The auditor is physically there looking at me going through my records. And she says, well, let's take a look at the travel, shall we? So she's typing and she says, tell me, what was the nature of your business in Cancun? Well, truth be told, I didn't have a really good answer for that. And she went on Cancun, Paris, London, all these trips that I had deducted. Well, of course, they disallowed those deductions. And she's like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. We had to take that all out. And I had to pay taxes and penalties on that stuff. But what she said was interesting. She said, look, it's too late for you. But she's like, look, if you could demonstrate some reasonability around that travel. Like, did you meet with any real estate agents? Did you teach a class? Did you see any properties? Did you do anything related to your business during that travel? And I think it's good for all of it. Like, I hadn't, so I didn't get any of those deductions. But if you like to travel and stuff, you may not be able to deduct the entire trip. You probably can't. But if you can focus a little bit of real estate activity, you might be able to deduct a portion of it. But you have to remember you're a local real estate agent. So if you have a lot of travel expenses as it relates to your overall income, that is a big flag for an audit. Because the auditor's like, why is this local travel agent spending 10% of their GCI, or local real estate agent spending 10% of their GCI on travel? And it doesn't really make sense. So I like this one here because many people do need to do a little look-see at their meals and travel expenses, or whatever it is that strokes your ego and has you to have a lot of fun, but doesn't really advance the business. There may be an opportunity there. So, food for thought. Okay, number 5. This is for the ambitious folks in the group. If you like to grow and you got lots of new ideas, word to the wise, that when you scale a broken financial model, you just break faster. Growing doesn't fix your bad financial habits. It makes them worse and harder to solve. So you have got to fix things now and earn the right to grow by knowing what margins you need to hit in all these different categories. Yes, you can reinvest your profit in your business, but do so with the strategy and tight controls. And I think that in our industry, we're a growth-oriented entrepreneurial industry. So we're like, or die, right? Or some version of that. And while that's, simply stated, the truth is if you grow your bad habits that you already have, right? So I think that the old mantra, I'll just sell another house and it's going to work itself out. Just going to sell another house, it's going to work itself out. That's a total fallacy. We have to fundamentally have good financial management habits in order to advance our net worth. What do you think, Saundra? Have you experienced that? I'll just sell another house. It's going to work itself out. Mantra?
I sure have. And I will also share that as people are growing teams, one of the biggest opportunities I find is ensuring that you don't assume the team, once you feel like you're consistently looking at this and you have made progress on your journey from wherever you are, and you bring people into your world, you having the conversation of helping them with this from the beginning so that they make wise choices. And when the market changes slightly, they're not in a position where they feel like they have to go look for 5 different ways to make changes when they could have had great financial habits is so important.
Yes. Yes. So, a little self-reflection on that. All right. Now, we're an accounting firm, so I'd be remiss if we didn't touch a little bit on taxes here. So, the pay the IRS, I don't know. I've yet to see it on a vision board for a real estate agent. Yet to see it. But let me tell you, you were on theirs. So what are you going to do about that, right? And one of the biggest things we can do about it is to make sure you're doing strategic tax planning, whether you're with Alchemy or not, right? Strategic tax planning is done in the summer. If you haven't met with your CPA and have a written strategic tax plan for 2025, remember we just passed a big tax bill that's in effect for 2025. So if you're waiting until 2026 to kind of figure that out, okay, but you will have missed all of 2025 and the benefits you could have had in 25. So kind of a dirty little secret in the industry is all the good stuff happens in the calendar year, but the tax reconciliation happens in the following year. So you're always just a little bit 12 months to 18 months behind. It's up to us as entrepreneurs to change that schedule. So at Alchemy, we built our whole firm around that proactive schedule. So in the summer, you want to do a strategic tax plan where you're looking at all the opportunities available to you as a taxpayer with your tax professional and have a written plan done. If that's not happening, then that's okay. Congratulations. You're paying the most possible to the IRS. And as citizens of this great country, we appreciate your excess contribution to the Treasury. But maybe you don't want to do that. maybe you feel like you're a better steward of your own funds than the government. I don't know. But if you do want to tighten that up, then having a written strategic plan is important. And if you're just sort of randomly curious about what else you could deduct, I did have my team put together a great write-off checklist for you. So scan this QR code, enter your information, and we will send you a write-off checklist. Like, just go through it. Like, are you doing these things? Right? Come to us, come to your current accountant, but this is just a nice little checklist format of what you could do and at minimum want to be paying attention to. And, spoiler alert, your Jet 2 holiday this fall, may or may not be deductible, depending on how you organize that. But yeah, I think that if we can, as an industry, put about 5 to 10 minutes a week into our financial management, it becomes a game changer. So if you're listening to this content and other financial related content, you're like, I got to just become like this 40-hour a week financial guru. No, the members that are doing really well at Alchemy financially have a cadence where they're spending about 5 to 10 minutes a week on certain activities, and then they're spending about an hour a month doing a deep dive. That's it. 5 to 10 minutes a week and an hour a month. Like, come on, we could do that.
I love that you just said that, because I always encourage everyone to have a monthly money day and sit down and look at their personal and business finances. So that literally is the monthly, just look at everything and make decisions. And I love the 5 to 10 minutes a week.
Yeah, and actually they're both so important. If you just do the monthly, you're going to spend the monthly doing things you should have done weekly and never get to the higher level analysis and strategy and coaching. Because weekly, what you're doing is if you've got a team, like you're going into your portal here at Alchemy and we post questions like, Jeff sent Saundra $400 via Venmo. Jeff, what was that for? Questions like that get posted. If you're answering those sort of administrative ticky-tacky questions through the week, then all the data is tightly compiled for you so that on a monthly basis with your coach, you can go through it and have some insights, make new decisions, repeat, and do it again. So, it's not just the monthly and it's not just the weekly. It's really the both that becomes the secret sauce to great financial stewardship. I mean, if somebody had told me years ago all I needed to do was spend 5 to 10 minutes a week and 1 hour a month, I would have been like, okay, I could do that. It always just seems so overwhelming, but 5 to 10 minutes a week, 1 hour a month, your whole game changes. All right, any questions? I see we got one download. Tiffany, you said you downloaded it. Great. Ashley, cool. Great.
Pamela,
Hi, Pamela. Is that a
we
question?
can't hear you. Yes. She doesn't know that we can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to share this valuable information with us. I have so many questions. This is like my jam. I love I love
Okay.
everything that you just said. So for an individual agent, what margins do you consider healthy going in, let's say in the first 3 to 5 years of business?
6%.
Yes, I'm smack in the middle of that.
Good. Great job.
That's exciting. Okay, another thing would be with tax strategies. When do you consider it appropriate, at what level or income level do you consider it appropriate to bring in the experts?
When you're above about $250,000 a year in GCI, is when you start to now need to look at things like corporate structures and more sophisticated strategies. So about $250,000 a year in GCI, Pamela, is where things change. And it's where most people say, I've got to evolve a little bit from a DIY model to a more professionally managed model.
I am so sorry. My customer came in and I totally missed that, but I'm going to look at the recording. Thank you so much.
I'll tell you real quick, $250,000, Pamela.
Okay.
$250,000 in GCI is when things change.
Okay, so that's going to be sooner rather than later. Okay.
Yeah, it's a big change. And a lot of people wait a little too long to map that change out. But now you have a whole other set of options and issues.
Okay.
But
Okay.
250 is the first big inflection point in the growth of your career financially.
Okay. Thank you so much for repeating that. I appreciate
You're welcome.
the input.
You're
Thank you so much.
It's a very
So not all vacations, but when you are on vacation, go see a property or two. Is that the loophole?
yeah, and document it to put it in your calendar. And if you spent like, 1 day out of 10 days doing that, then you maybe have about 1/10 of that vacation that you could deduct by and large.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate all the input.
You're welcome. Good questions. Okay, cool.
Who else? Who has questions or ahas for Brandon? And gratitude for him spending time with us today.
Definitely gratitude, and just, putting it into bite-sized pieces and basic fundamental truths of, you can't grow a system until you get the finances right. And, you can, but you're just going to set yourself up for failure. So, all of the truths that you shared with us, I'm appreciative of, and it just gives me hope for being able to get it right.
My pleasure, Tiffany. I'm glad you got value today. Thank you. All right. Well, Saundra, thank you for having me in today. I love it. Always happy
Thank
to
you
come
for
in
being here.
and engage with the wonderful communities that you're building. Very excited about this group. So thanks for letting me sneak in and give you a little tax and finance stuff on a Monday here in September.
Thank you for being here. It was so awesome. And I know lots of people are going to go back and watch the recording as well. And we'll make sure to include all of your info. He put his website in the link. He does amazing blogs. He has a way that you can follow him and get text messages all the time from him. And so even before you're ready to be a client of his, whether you're ready now or later, he just likes to add value to all of you. So make sure that you go follow because it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Brandon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.